Watching movies, they said. Reading books, they said. Comic books, manga, whatever form of media you consume, it's all trash. You might as well go touch trash outside, to be honest, because you aren't consuming quality content anymore. You were never even consuming content in the first place. You were literally reading a Wikipedia entry with the skin of a story slapped to it. We've reached a point where lore is used as a crutch for hacks, as they say. They use the word hack these days, young folk. But hacks, it's a hack used by unskilled writers to pass off as writers, as creatives. Look, these guys don't know how to write a cohesive story. Even if they tried, even if you pointed a gun to their head, they would fail. If I need a 10-page PDF to understand why a character has certain motivations, or you know what, scratch that, a character, I need to go to the Wikipedia, to the wiki, to understand why the character is this way, is that way. Can't you tell me in the story? Then why am I watching your movie, watching your animated show, watching your show, reading your book? Why? What is the use? What's this? If I need to have the PhD of... Why would you even need a PhD in the first place to understand the story? It's quite dumb on its own. It's like trying to make something that isn't complex, bloating it up so that it will pass off as something that is complex, a work of art, they said. Thank you, Chainsaw Man. Those who understand will understand. But you see, the entire point of this video is just talking about the indie aesthetic. Because people glaze indie as a whole. I don't know when, okay? I don't know what kind of government propaganda was used. Maybe I should adjust myself, maybe I shouldn't. You know what, I'm going to stay like this. I don't know what kind of government propaganda was initiated when people began to associate indie with creative. I don't understand. It's like saying an independent business is going to be better than actually, I thought that you started an independent business so that you could eventually, hopefully one day reach the levels of a large company or even a small company. A company is still a company. But these days, people will come up with the indie aesthetic that if it's indie, it's quirky, it's amazing, it's creative. No, okay? You know what? Let me form a story right now. Okay, a lesbian girl with her girlfriend using what do you call it again? Graffiti to fight against the corporate establishment, and the name of the corporate establishment is X Corp. Yeah, we're going to make an indie animated show concerning that, and watch the money rolling. I'm telling you. You see how people are not smart these days. You can make anything and slap indie to it, and people will flock it to be anti-corpo. I mean, look, I'm going to make a video on that eventually, but let's just move on. Shows like Has Been Hotel are glazed, praised because they look cool, edgy, because the premise is different from traditional shows. Will that dog shut up? That dog is 3 steps close to being retarded. I have my reasons for saying that, because look, just back to the video. It's a nothing burger. You can see how I feel nothing when I'm talking about Has Been Hotel. It's a nothing burger. You have showrunners like Vivzy Pop who are given the keys to the kingdom. Do something with it. No, you fumbled it. You lost the keys actually, so you never even got to step your foot into the kingdom. It reminds me of that the stunt ranking system from Sonic Colors. Good, great, awesome, outstanding, amazing, really. Look, Vivzy Pop and so many indie creatives lack foundational skills in storytelling. I wish I were lying. It's just OCs, original characters. My original character being mashed together like dolls, like Play-Doh, trying to make a cohesive story because of that one fanfic and fan art that I drew when I was 12. Most of these creatives feel like man babies to me, and I'm 15, so baseball, huh? Look, in a real tragedy, the kind they wrote in the golden age of the golden age of storytelling is always fragmented on a cultural basis. You understand? You can have the 2000 classics and like the Invisible Man and Even like now from my country, you have many writers. Nigeria, you have I've forgotten Wole Soyinka. You have good writers. So good writing is always scattered across generations, but you always have at least one good writer from each generation. I don't know, from the indie scene of the 2010s, we don't have anything. We don't. You don't. Look. Let me just come to this. Okay, you see, death wasn't a shock tactic back in the day. It was not a shock tactic. It's not supposed to be a shock tactic. It's the result of thematic inconsistency. You understand? You have a character who has hunted vampires for 30 years. Now, let's say the character is 30 plus 20. That the character is 50, right? The character actually started when in his teenage years. So, but the person has hunted vampires for 30 years, right? The thematic inconsistency is for the indie scene. It's not for the golden age. The golden age is the opposite. Obviously, who would have thought that it wouldn't be the opposite? But a character with 30 years worth of experience dies to some random villain that just pops up out of nowhere because the plot needed it. That is not dark. That is a plot hole. You see, actual storytelling is about believability. People always come up with this particular take of it's just fiction, bro. Look. If it's just fiction, then why bother? Looking for good shows? If it's just fiction, you might as well watch SpongeBob SquarePants till you're 70. Okay, you shouldn't look for deeper stories. You should settle for less every time. Anything that's handed to you, consume the slop and don't complain. I always feel like crying sometimes, not because of we have bad shows, but because we have dumb people. You see, think of Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare, and Modern Warfare 2. Those stories work because they show a plausible path to a nightmare. No Russian is actually possible. Maybe the Russians are a bit smart. So let's say it happened in China or North Korea. Just randomly, out of the blue, CIA operatives just decided to commit mass murders in Beijing for some reason. Look, World War III it is then. It's plausible, it's dark. That's why people remember the story. Advanced Warfare, Irons was spitting facts, but at what cost? The theme of Advanced Warfare, power changes everything. He got the power he needed to finally change the world. But at that time, he's already a monster. And a monster needs to be stopped. Now you get where I'm coming from with this, right? They don't rely on a lore dump. They rely on the logic of the world. Modern writers want to kill characters, but they aren't smart enough to make the death feel earned. They treat their cast like canon fodder. That's not art. That's just being gritty for the sake of being dark. The main thing that comes off with the whole indie scene is that these guys genuinely lack skill. They don't know what they're doing. They've been gaslit into subjectivity. People who talk about subjectivity are the ones that started this whole thing. There is no objective way to write a story. There's no objective way to structure the plot of a story. You know what? Write anything you want as long as it's creative. People will understand. No. The world doesn't need to understand you. You need to understand the world. And in turn, the world will eventually understand you. Or maybe they won't. It's fine. But people, alas, the sky is blue and the grass is green. This is the current situation of the world we're in. It is all. What I'm trying to say is that you need to have skill in the indie space, no matter what space you are in, right? Being indie, having lore, having gritty moments does not mean that the story is going to be good. Most of these writers can't even come up with, like, now I didn't even finish Assassin's Creed 1. I haven't even 10%ed the game, but that one line, right, just stuck with me. Look, Assassin's Creed 1 is not for me, but that one line stuck with me. Nothing is true, everything is permitted. So in turn, I decided to complete the thing by myself. Everything is true. Nothing is true, everything is permitted. Everything is true, nothing is permitted, and some things are true, some things are permitted. The third one is reality. No matter how you try to frame it, that's how reality is. The second one is actually a dictatorship or what a totalitarian government would actually look like. And the first one is pure agency, but agency at the expense of another man's agency. Yeah, the world does not work like that, or else we'd be animals. So that is all. I'll see you guys when I see you guys. I hope you understand the point of this video, and till then, bye.